Hello, my name's James Banks and I am a writer, and I've written comedy series, books, films. So Transition Stage Company asked me to support deaf writers to create their own scripts. So this video is in fact a very basic brief about what is a script and what is story and how you might begin to plan and put together a story for script. So it's very basic information, the same type of information you can find anywhere out on the internet or in books. The information is out there, but this is presented in BSL, British Sign Language. So I'd like to start with what is story? What does that mean? How do you start to create a story? If you think about it, story has been going for thousands and thousands of years. You think back to early human history, people would sit around a campfire and someone would come in and they'd tell a tale. Even back as far as the Anglo-Saxon period, or even before that, someone would stand up and they'd tell a story or sing a song, and all those around the campfire would be drawn into that. Story is part of our human experience. There's a famous writer called Philip Pullman, and he said that first humans need food and water, and then companionship, and then shelter, and then when they've achieved all those things, the next thing they need is story. Story is a very important and true thing that we need it in our life. If you think about Netflix, or even going down to the Deaf Club, and you want to talk about things that have happened in your community, gossip, those kinds of things. I think story helps us to really practice at life. Like, for example, you watch an action film, you put yourself in the place of the hero and you think, well, what would I do in that situation? So story helps us to practice life. I mean, I could talk hours and hours about what story is, but for your script, you need to think about, well, what sort of stories do I like and what don't I like? And that would be your choice. So when you create a story, you're trying to tell the audience something new, an opinion that you have personally yourself. It doesn't matter if it's a funny opinion, a comedy, or a drama, or something more serious. You as the writer are telling the audience something. And that's called your theme. Your theme could be like, you don't like unfairness, or you create a story to make sure that the hero tries to find some kind of fairness or judgment. Or you want to make a point about the deaf experience. What's it feel like to have someone oppress you, to have hearing people oppress you? Or maybe you want to oppress them back. Maybe that's your theme. So your theme will really help you to describe what you want to write your story for. What's the topic of your story? The theme of your story. So here's an exercise for you to help you discover what your themes might be. To find out what makes you angry or what makes you sad. For me, as a writer, I'm always really interested in relationships between fathers and sons. For me, that's really interesting because it's related to my own relationship with my own father in my life. And some of the emptiness or fulfillment that could be experienced with that. So I want you to think about your own opinions and feelings. What do you feel strongly about? And perhaps you need to do a little bit of research on what your own themes are. So a good way to find that out is to create a description of yourself, but from someone else's perspective. Maybe a partner or a colleague. If they were to write about you, what would they say about you? Would they say, oh, he's a nice guy, but you need to be careful because they get very angry about X, Y, and Z? What would that other person say to describe you? And that's an exercise worth trying, is to look at yourself from someone else's point of view. And then you probably might start to discover that actually you do have particular themes, things that you're interested and passionate about. So that should help you to find that theme. For this transition stage company script, it's a very short script, 10 to 15 minutes. So which means you can't have a lot of characters. You're going to need to have one or two characters. You can't have a great big cast. Some very good films only have one or two characters in them, and they focus really finely on the development of those particular characters and their interaction. So a good writer can show a very strong story through very few characters. So a half-hour episode is made really interesting with four characters, for example, who just finished an Indian meal and they start arguing about who's going to pay the bill. It's an amazing piece of drama, really interesting, and it's something which uses a very simple setup and only four characters. So you need a small number of characters because you need to think about a budget, you need to think about a film crew going around filming your script. So one or two characters makes it more economical to film. You must think about budget. Next activity I want you to try is I want you to write down maybe 3 or 4 films that you absolutely love. And then I want you to look at each one of those films and try and figure out why you love those particular films. Is it the plot? Is it because of the actual scenario, the situation? Or the special effects, or the action, or the characters perhaps? Some films you watch and you can just go along with your life, they're okay. Like superhero films, like Spider-Man, they're okay, they're quite good. But other films really touch you, make you cry. The fact that a film that someone else has made, a story that someone else has made can make you cry is amazing. But what is it? And I want you to sort of pick apart those 4 films that you really like. What do they have in common? What is it that you love about them?